This bill is an important step forward in improving government data collection efforts by ensuring that they account for the diverse groups of people living in the United States. Data on sexual orientation, gender identity, and variations in sex characteristics is needed to ensure that federal programs and policies are addressing the needs of the entire population of the United States. The LGBTQI+ Data Inclusion Act would build upon existing data collection efforts by requiring any agency that already collects data on population demographics using statistical surveys to also include questions on the sexual orientation, gender identities, and variations in sex characteristics of respondents. I want to be clear about one thing. While agencies would be required to include these questions on their surveys, responses to these questions would be completely voluntary. No one would be required to disclose their sexual orientation, gender identity, or whether they are intersex under this bill. And to the extent that people do answer these questions, the bill would maintain the highest standards of privacy and confidentiality for this information. In March, I was proud to join a letter on this topic with my colleague, Chairman Grijalva, and Congresswoman Porter, along with other members of this committee, to the National Institute of Health, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Census Bureau. Our letter requested the adoption of recommendations from the National Academies on Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine to achieve more inclusive data collection across the federal government. This data can reveal important disparities and opportunities and can inform policies that lead to better outcomes for LGBTQI populations in health, housing, employment, and more. Before I conclude, let me take a moment to acknowledge the historic nature of the committee's work today and the importance of our committees considering this legislation during Pride Month. At a time when LGBTQI+ people are experiencing hostile attacks across the U.S., it is critical that the federal government ensure that every community is seen and included in our data collection efforts. No person should be shut out of our policymaking, and no community should be excluded from our nation's narrative. I urge all members to support this bill. Before I yield back, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record various letters from organizations in strong support of this important legislation. Without objection, so ordered, and I yield back.